Hey guys, what is going on? Thank you for viewing this. So I'm sure the title of this is eye-opening for many of you guys because, with a lot that's going on with the movement, with the restored movement, ICC and all these different things right here. But the title of this is The Pearl of God. Why I remain faithful for 15 years in the ICC, International Christian Church, and why I'm still here and why am I remaining here. So I'm going to get you a little lesson here, and I do pray that with this lesson is going to bring clarity with a lot of you guys. This is my convictions, my passions. So I can't give you my convictions, I can't give you my passions, but I can share with you guys, and at the end of the day, I believe this is going to be super clear. This is clear for me. So if this is clear for me, this may just be clear for you. So let's get to this introduction here, right? The Pearl of God. Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13, verses 45. 13 verses 45. Where you at? So it says here, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. Guys, October 30th, 2009 was the day I first met the church. I met disciples. I met a sister named Sue, a brother named Victor, and a brother named Jake at this deadly pizza place, right? And little do I know, this was the pearl that God was leading me to. The pearl that people not only found it, but saw as a great value and sold everything to buy it. Sold everything about your life to buy this pearl. So I saw the pearl and I valued it. And November 27, 2009, I got baptized. So when I got baptized, guys, when I became a disciple of Jesus, I saw the value of this pearl. Now, one thing, guys, that I've learned about jewelry in general, one thing about jewelry, rings, chains, bracelets, whatever. Jewelry in general, if you don't keep it clean and shiny, it's gonna rust or turn to dust. You can even got gold, white gold, whatever. If you keep it without shining it, 5 years, 10 years, that thing gonna look like dirt. You gotta shine it, right? So with pearls, you gotta keep your pearl shine. It's our responsibility in how we want to go about this pearl. Our responsibility is we need to take care of the pearl. No matter what, other people may have different convictions about the pearl. They may not take care of it. They may just let this thing stay dusty. They may not shine it. They may just get complacent thinking that since it's a real pearl, then it's going to stay real. Rather, okay, you know what? Let me maintain the shyness of this pearl. So I found the pearl 15 years ago. And unfortunately, there's many times that I let this thing stay dusty. But then when God made it clear, Davis, this is dusty right now. You need to clean it. And what I did, I cleaned it and I shined it, and it's been shining till this very day, But I want to show you guys how to protect the pearl and what enables the pearl to be dusty. And why do people let it dust? Or why do people try to find another pearl rather than taking care of this pearl when you originally found the pearl to begin with? Well, here's the first step of putting dust into this pearl. Jude chapter 1, verses 16. Jude chapter 1, verses 16. It reads, let me get this version right here. Okay, it says, these people are grumblers and fault finders. They follow their own evil desires. They boast about themselves, flatter others for their own advantage. Key word here, fault finders, grumblers. What that is, people focus. The thing is, guys, we all have desires, all of us. And sometimes when God don't give us those desires, and when we see those desires with our brothers or our sisters, sometimes we could be fault finders, we could be people focused, and the thing is, because they have what we want to see sins, or we want to see how, like, anything that they could wrong us in any way, or any wrongs or errors we could find of them. And at the end of it, it's to flatter our own advantage, because they have what we don't want. And instead of like supporting, we don't even support. We just hold a grudge in our hearts because they have what I have. Who are them? We're more capable of having those desires that they have. Entitlement, that's a huge thing, entitlement. So entitlement, being people focused, or church politics, getting caught up with the whole church politics, or this leader, that leader. There's no difference when you guys are that are leaders, or Bible talk leaders, or disciples. You teach your people to not get caught up with people focus. It's no different than church leaders. You're still a disciple. Don't get caught up with people focus. Focus on God and continue to clean and shine your pearl. Amen on that. What is another thing that can lead your pearl to dust? 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 58. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 58. One of my favorite scriptures right here. It says, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm, let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." Stand firm and let nothing move you. Guys, unfortunately, I've been moved many times during my young disciple days because of people focus, because of entitlement, because of envy, lack of trust, etc. I got moved by people, by my brothers in this church. Having desires that I have, that I see my brothers have, I start comparing myself, and eventually it moved me. And the thing is, that's what's going on with a lot of you guys. You're being moved by people because you're being people focused. You're being entitled. You're being envious because what you want, what you deeply desire, you cannot have. And because you cannot have, when you see those disciples, those brothers, sisters that have those, you get entitled. And eventually that moves you, that knocks you all over the place. You get so caught up, and eventually that leads you to falling away because your heart is not focusing on God. It's focusing on people, So you got to stand firm. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for me. I got rebuked a whole lot. I got discipled a whole lot because of this, So if I got discipled by this, it's no different than what we see today, People still could get moved by a lot of things that's going on, Well, let's take a look at something else, Let's go to Psalms chapter 19, verses 12. Psalms chapter 19, verses 12. And this is another thing that can happen. Another thing that could make the pearl dusty, guys, is this. Psalm 19, verses 12. It says here, "But who can discern their own errors? Forgive my hidden faults." Here's the thing, guys. Our leadership, they're not perfect. They're imperfect. Just like I'm imperfect. You're imperfect. We all imperfect. Sometimes, guys, we may fall short with our discernment, our decisions. Sometimes we may not always make the best decisions. I know for me, I made a lot of bad decisions that I'm not proud of, that I so wish I never made those decisions. And a lot of those decisions that I made hurted me. It hurted other brothers and sisters because of my lack of discernment. It affected me. But what do I do then? Do I stay in the guilt, the worldly sorrow, or do I have a godly soul? Okay, I saw my errors. So what I'm going to do differently now is, okay, Psalms 119, 125. What could I do things differently this time around? What could you do things differently this time around? Psalms 119, verses 125. It says here, I am your servant. Give me discernment that I may understand your statutes. This is David telling God, give me discernment. Help me to understand. So guys, one thing that God does give us is discernment. When we lack discernment because of poor choices that we make, God give us the ability to redeem us, to give us discernment, so we don't make the same mistakes, but we could redeem ourselves and do things differently, you know. So I am grateful for the grace of God that He has given me discernment. 15 years worth of discernment, but guys, I made a lot of mistakes with my discernment where, I fall short. So I'm no different than leaders. Leaders are no different than me. A lot of leaders, they make poor choices, and I'm sure that they did. And what they did is, okay, let me learn from this. Let me do things differently. I shouldn't have done this way. I shouldn't have done this way. But redemption, God gave us the ability to redeem, to refocus back on that discernment again, to learn from our past, so we don't make the same mistakes, so we could continue on to do things different and have better judgment with our choices, our decisions that we make. So I'm sure even with the world sector, our leaders, I'm sure that maybe they could reflect, maybe I could have done this differently or done this differently. God gives them grace. No different than me. Maybe I could have done this differently. Maybe I could have done this differently. And God gives me a second chance, redemption, So we should not bash our leadership because they might have made a wrong decision or whatever. Okay, you got to continue on to do this. Hebrews chapter 13, verses 17. Hebrews chapter 13, verses 17. I'm going to use the 11th version for this. It says, have confidence in your leaders and submit to their authority, because they keep watch over you as those who must give an account. Do this so that their work would be a joy, not a burden, for that would be no benefit to you. Do you have confidence in your leaders? Or do you don't have confidence just because they might have made some slip and falls with their discernment? I made a lot of slip and falls, but God gives me the ability to redeem myself. So my people, my Bible talk, they have confidence in me. But I know that in the past, I messed up my great name many times. Many times, Proverbs 3, let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck, hold them to the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name beside of God and man. Many times I messed up my good name because of my lack of discernment. But God gave me the ability to rebuild. And since I was able to rebuild my name, I built that. I gave that confidence back in my life, and people trust me, and people have confidence in me. We need to do that with our leadership, is have confidence in our leadership, even if they fall short, even if they may fall short with the way they make decisions or whatnot, We got to do that, guys, because if we get so caught up, if we're more focusing on people focus, leadership focus, or this leader done this wrong, or this was a bad decision, this decision, then what end up happening to us? Let's take a look at Colossians chapter 1, verses 17 to 18. Colossians chapter 1, verses 17 and 18. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning of the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. Jesus is the head of the body, the church. Question comes, who is the head, the church or Jesus? If your security, guys, is our church leaders, world sector leaders. Oh, look at this decision they made. Look at this decision they made. Look at that decision they made. What is that? That means that's your God right there, the church. That's your head. It's not Jesus. That's your God. Because the leadership made a poor choice, just like you made poor choices, just like I make poor choices, you stop having confidence in them. I still have confidence in my leaders, even if they make poor choices. Because I know I made a lot of poor choices. I want someone to have confidence in me. Why you don't want to do the same? Who is the head, Jesus or the church? See, when we do these studies with people, we teach them that Jesus is the head, the church is the body, right? Our security needs to come on the head, Jesus. If your security is on the head, then the body should not move you at all. Hebrews, what I shared with you in 1 Corinthians 15:58. The church should not move you. People should not move you if Jesus is still the head. Yeah, they may, like I said, guys, as long as we remain disciples, we're going to always continue to make not only good choices and good decisions, but also bad ones too. But we got to continue on to learn from it because we are imperfect. We got to continue to have confidence in our leaders. Keep the pearl shine. These are things that could turn your pearls into dust if we get so caught up to this, Well, let's take a look at another thing right here. Galatians 6:7. Galatians chapter 6, verses 7. So just say, guys, all right, leaders are doing wrong. This brothers are doing wrong. This leader is doing wrong. All these different things, right, that we get so caught up with, Okay. Well, Galatians 6, it says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. God cannot be mocked. So just say hypothetically, if our leaderships are doing wrong, then God will take care of it. God's not going to be mocked. Nobody can run away or can hide, God's going to see you. And look at this, Romans chapter 14, verses 4. Romans chapter 14, verses 4. Let's go here real quick. It says here, who are you to judge someone else's servant? To their own master's servant stands or fall, and they will stand, for the Lord is able to make them stand. See, guys, these are a lot of these leadership, whatever, those are not your servants. Everyone has a discipler, a spiritual mentor. And we have to continue to have confidence in our leadership and our people, the people that got put over us, And if they done any wrong, then look what happens in here. Romans chapter 2. Romans chapter 2, verses 16. It says here, this will take place on a day when God judges people's secrets to Jesus Christ, as my gospel declares. If we do any secretive sin, guys, or try to be secretive with our decision and everything, whatever, God is going to expose your secrets. And what else God's going to do? Look what else God's going to do here. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 30 and 31. It says here, for we know him who said, it is mine to avenge, I will repay. Again, the Lord would judge his people. It is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. God would judge his people. This makes me feel so secure, knowing that I'm secure in God. If leadership does wrong, God's going to judge them for that. And God's going to expose their secrets. God's going to take care of that. Not me. It's not going to be me that's going to try to take care of that. It's going to be God himself. And God done that, God done that with me. There's people in my past, that used to lead me, that done wrong, that I felt that I know things was off. Although leadership couldn't see it, but I couldn't see it. And then guess what? Later on, God exposed them. and next, they end up leaving. I'm not going to give any names, though, but I stand on my ground. I'm just hanging on the path of just having confidence in my leadership. even if I feel things are off, I'm still going to have confidence because they're not my God. Jesus is my God. He is my head and not the church. Church is just the body, not the head. So I feel safe that, we can't hide. There's no secret. God's going to expose secrets and you're going to be judged by it. So if our leadership is secretive or doing anything, trust me, God's going to expose it. It's going to be point blank. God's going to take care of it. And God's just going to continue on to raise up new leaders, And that's just like he did, And I'm not going to get caught up to that or get into that. But, you all guys know we have a new leader in ICC, whatever, But at the end of the day, if there's anything that's off, God is going to fix it. But we got to continue on to pray for our people and let God deal with the matter, not us. Let's focus on what we're responsible for and not get caught up with people focus. Continue on to keep your pearl shine, because these are the things that leads the pearl to dust. And one thing we do need, guys, because here's the thing, guys. At the end of the day, look what's going to happen. That's why we can't run away from God, even when we try, If we try to be secretive with our sins, guys, look what happens in Numbers chapter 32, verses 23. Numbers 32, verses 23. It says here, but if you fail to do this, you will be sinning against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will find you out. Sin will find you out. You cannot hide from God. You can't hide from your brothers and sisters if you're doing things off, or even if you're a leader or in the leadership, if you're doing things that's off, secretive, or sin, trust me, your sin's going to find you out. And God's going to judge you for that, And God's going to replace you with another leader, So this brings me security. Now, you know what? I'm not going to focus on the leadership or church politics and all these different things. I'm just going to focus on making sure my pearl stays shining, Because why? Because of Haggai 1:7. Haggai chapter 1, verses 7. It says, this is what the Lord Almighty says, give careful thoughts to your ways. I ain't going to give careful thought to my ways and how I'm going to view this and go about this. That's what I got to do. David said, what can mere mortals do to me? David, this brother, sinned against God, and the whole nation of Israel still trusted him. He committed adultery with Bathsheba. He had one of his men put to death. He led Joab astray. I don't think any of our leaders done that. But still, you don't have confidence in your leaders, but you have confidence in David. What's the difference? Everyone still have confidence in David, and everyone still love David, No different at all whatsoever. That's why I'm going to have a sober judgment on this. That, you know what, I'm going to give careful thought to my ways and how I'm going about this, because this is still the pearl. It's just people are changing. People are just not taking care of the pearl. It's leaving it to dust. So as long as I focus on keeping my pearl nice and shiny, I know that God is leading me the right way. Unless he makes it clear. And trust me, it's not going to be clarity based on people. It's going to be God himself, So at the end of the day, in closing, what it comes down to, all said and done, Hebrews chapter 12, verses 2. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Fixing your eyes on Jesus. At the end of the day, why I stay in ICC? Because my eyes is fixing on Jesus. This is where I came from. The church gave birth to me. God brought me to this. God showed me that the pearl, and I gave up everything I have for this pearl, is still the pearl. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to see the pearl the way I've done. That's your own conviction. This is my conviction, you know. The pearl is still the pearl. My job is to keep it shiny. Are you keeping your pearl shiny? Or are you imitating those who are not keeping their pearl shiny because of everything that I share in this lesson? Are you keeping the pearl shiny? Is the pearl still the kingdom to you? If so, then let's remain where we are. ICC is where we need to be. Amen on that.